Hello and welcome to a brand new episode of Top Shelf Audio. Today we're going to be diving into the FORTE III upgrade kit, and basically we're going to be trying to help you guys find an answer to the question of, is it worth it to upgrade your FORTE III to a FORTE IV? We're going to bring on a guest to get his thoughts on what he expects from his upgrade, show you a step-by-step how-to on upgrading your Fortes yourself at home, and then we're going to bring the guest back to tell us his thoughts after the upgrade. Now I've heard the 3s and the 4s, so before we dive in, I want to give you a bit of insight on my own personal experience and my thoughts on the matter. First off, what is the upgrade kit? Well, in the box we're going to receive a new high-frequency assembly, a new mid-range driver, and a new crossover network, as well as some little miscellaneous pieces to allow it to adapt. What does this really do for us though? Well, the most important piece, at least to me, is going to be the ability to listen more comfortably at louder levels. The lower end of the treble tends to be a little bit less shrilly. Upper bass is more pronounced. It's more punchy. You see this really reflected in a lot of rock music. It's really noticeable in the kick drum, but it's also noticeable in other places and in other instruments as well. The new mid-range driver and phase plug are key components here, but the piece that really drives it home is the new steep slope crossover network. If you look at the spec sheets, you'll see that everything is virtually identical on paper. We have the same frequency range and the same crossover points. The difference here really is made in the magic of the crossover. The difference in the slopes, the roll-offs, and how it delegates and outputs the sounds that it's given. That's my thoughts anyways. Let's go ahead and get our guest on here and we're going to see what he's expecting from his upgrade. We're going to do our upgrade and then we're going to see his take on it once the upgrade has been done and see the results. Let's check it out. I am joined here by Robert. He introduced himself in the KLIPSCH Owners Forum saying that he has a pair of FORTE IIIs and was considering upgrading to the FORTE IVs via the upgrade kit. Now, Corey saw this online and he posted a message saying, hey, I noticed that you're in Indianapolis, right?
Indianapolis.
I noticed that you're in Indianapolis. I was wondering, would you be willing to take those FORTE IIIs to my videographer, Jason, and he could upgrade them for you and just get the upgrade experience on video and see how it goes? And here we are.
Hell yeah.
So we're going to get these things upgraded. We are going to take a listen here right now. We're going to take a listen before, and then I'm going to upgrade these guys for him, and then we're going to take a listen after and see how they compare. So what are the biggest changes you're expecting to see?
More liveliness, more having them in front of you, all the little details of their voices and the instruments. That's what I'm looking forward to, is seeing how much different they sound, how much more crisper her voice is, or that gravelly range, how much fuller it sounds. I'm looking at the detailed stuff and then having fun with the rest of it later.
Sounds good. All right, well, let's get this upgrade kit in and we'll see how they sound. All right, so we do have 2 boxes as we are upgrading both Fortes here. So both boxes will have the same items inside. First off, we are going to pull out our high frequency driver and horn assembly. Then we have our mid-range driver, then our crossover network, our instructions, and our, let's call this our miscellaneous bag. Next, we'll get this box out of the way and let's go ahead and open up our drivers, starting with the mid-range. Now I'm going to tear the tape here as opposed to using a knife because while most likely I wouldn't harm it and I could feel for where the fragile components are, but I still like to take that extra precaution so not to impale the brand new driver. And here we have our K702 mid-range driver. Next, let's crack open our high frequency assembly. This is the K107 Ti, which it's the same high frequency driver and kind of the same horn as before, but there has been a change that we'll talk about here later. Next we have our network, which is actually pretty massive compared to the old version. I'll show you guys a side-by-side on these when we get the old versions out as well. And here we have our kit as a whole. Now I'm going to speed up the unpackaging of the second kit as you've kind of just seen it already. And here is your complete upgrade kit. Now for the install, I'm going to follow along step by step with these instructions so that there is no confusion in the process, and I'll throw up the instructions on screen so you can kind of follow along if you're using this as more of a tutorial than just viewing it. The first thing we are going to see is the tools list. Here we have our Phillips screwdriver, our T20 Torx driver, our drill with an adjustable clutch, a T20 Torx driver for that as well, and not pictured, a Phillips bit as well. Next we have ratchets with 13mm and 4mm sockets. We also have our wire cutters, but I didn't end up needing those in the end. Now, one note that I will make here is that I'm not sure where the 4mm socket comes into play. It could be that different models had slight variations, but we ended up using a 7mm instead. So maybe consider having one of those on the ready as well. Next on the instructions, you'll see the parts list, but we've already gone over that. The terminals that you see listed here are in the little baggie, and we will go over that a little bit more later as well. Now, beyond stuff to get you ready, the first thing you're actually going to do is remove the mid-range horn. I chose to do this with the Forte standing up as it's a better camera angle, but if you're more comfortable doing it with the speaker laying down, that works as well. If standing up though, the weight of the magnet on the driver may cause the bottom to want to pull forward. As such, maintain pressure on the bottom of the horn as you remove the last screw. Once you're ready, remove the horn and driver from the cabinet. You'll need to push the clamps in and pull on the terminals to remove them. Here is the K70 driver mated to our K703 horn. It doesn't say this anywhere in the instructions, so I'll go ahead and say it here as it's as good a time as any. Let's go ahead and swap the driver on this horn and get it prepped to go back into the cabinet. The horn is actually threaded, so to remove it, we just twist off the K70, and to replace, we just twist on the K702. With this assembled, let's go ahead and set it off to the side here and move on to the next step. Next, we're going to take out the high frequency assembly, remove the 4 screws. If this has never been removed before, there may be some resistance. You can actually reach into the mid-frequency hole and push the driver out if it needs a little convincing, like you see here. Once it's loose, you'll see that you can't really just pull straight out. There is a cutout above to allow the magnet to come through. You'll kind of tilt down and pull forward and you should be able to clear the hole. Now, this model has spade clamps, so we will be able to press the tab and remove them, but in some circumstances these terminals may be soldered. If so, you can unsolder them or clip the wires to remove the drivers. Now let's take a second to look at the old and the new side by side. They actually utilize the same driver and horn for the most part, but our difference here is going to be in this phase plug. Up close you can really see the difference here. Next, we're going to rotate our cabinet around and remove the passive radiator, or drone as they refer to it in the instructions. Once the screws are out, you can put one hand in the cabinet through the mid-range hole to push the drone out if needed. Set this off to the side as we're going to reuse it later. We just needed to remove it to get to the network on the bottom of the cabinet. Your wires will still be connected to the woofer, so you'll want to remove those as well while we're in here. These here are spade clamps just like the high frequency drivers, but if yours are soldered, you may need to unsolder to proceed. Next, we're going to unscrew the network from the base of the cabinet. Next in the instructions is to remove the network, but it leaves out disconnecting the wires from the input cup. You'll need to do this first or you won't be able to remove the old network. Remove the old network and put your new network in its place. The instructions say to reuse the screws. They are self-tapping if new holes are needed. New holes are most certainly going to be needed. You may be able to get 1 or 2 to line up, but for the most part, they will all be new holes. Now, before we proceed, I want to refer you to the note at the bottom of the instructions, which says that some input panels are shipped with smaller 0.110 inch terminals on the negative lugs. 2 0.205 inch terminals are included with this kit to change these out. Now the one we have has these smaller terminals, so here I'm going to remove the input cup and show you. Now, you remember how I said that you will need a 7mm instead of a 4mm socket? This is where that comes into play. The 13mm is to hold the backside, or where you twist off with your fingers on the back, but most likely you'll be able to torque it loose a bit with just the one and do the rest by hand. So really all you'll need is that 7mm, and you'll do the rest with your fingers. You'll use the wrench again to tighten in the end here. You'll also want to bend the terminals upward a bit to make it a little easier to put on the spade clamps later. Personally, I find it easier to go ahead and install the wires at this stage with the input cup removed, and then I screw the input cup into place after. That said, you can put the input cup back in place and slide these terminals from the network on later, if desired. Totally your call. Order of operations doesn't really matter as long as the right wires go to the right place. Next, let's get back on track with the instructions. It says to run your tweeter output wire through the cabinet up to the high frequency slot. Attach your new high frequency assembly and then screw it back into place. Definitely hand screw these, as you do not want to strip them out. Do the same with the mid-frequency wire and connect it to the terminals. Put your horn back into its place and keep a hand on the bottom to prevent it from slipping out. Install a bottom screw first, and you can remove your hand and install the rest of the screws. Next, push the spade clamps onto the terminals for the low frequency driver. Next step is to install the input wires. So if you didn't install your input wires before when we were pulling out the input cup and replacing it, go ahead and do that now. Lastly, reinstall your passive radiator. Sonically, having it facing the right direction won't make a difference, but visually it would drive me absolutely insane to not have the PWK logo in the correct direction. So take note of the orientation when replacing this component. Now you guys have already seen this on one speaker, so let's do a speed run through the second speaker and get the pair ready for Robert to come on back and take a listen. We've installed the upgrade kit, the Forte III. These are now Forte IVs. What are we expecting one more time? Haven't heard them yet.
No, I know what I'm listening for, and for this particular artist, I want to listen for the plucking and see how much clearer that is. Like I said before, I have a granddaughter that plays oboe, so I know what that feels like and it sounds like right in front of me. So I want to look for fullness. 10,000 Maniacs Unplugged.
All right.
That's mostly what I'm listening to for just what I'm picking out to listen to, see how much it's changed. So a minute or two from each song, because they all have different instruments that are in the forefront that I look for, and then the complete background, what everybody else sounds like filling in. So and seeing how they'll place the same, but if they feel more lifelike.
All right.
The oboe section is definitely better because when my granddaughter's playing, you hear it, but you can also feel the resonance from the size of the instrument. So I'm getting that sensation as far as when I hear it. It's like, yeah, I can almost feel that being in the room with me. So I like that. Before, the strings on this song felt kind of centered, but now I can hear the guy sitting over there playing, and it's working its way across.
And now that you have heard them, you have compared them to before and after. Are you happy with it?
Very.
Very?
Yes.
It's good to hear. Good to hear.
I'm looking forward to having my granddaughter over so she can hear it and I can get her thoughts on the difference, as far as playing one of the instruments that I was listening for in here, to see what she thinks about it.
What's your favorite thing about it? And is there anything you don't like about the upgrade?
The only thing I don't like is my hearing isn't as good as it used to be, so I can't really pay more attention to the higher notes. So I'm going with what I can hear and what the difference is with that, and I like it. Can't say there's much in the way of negatives. Any
That's what I was hoping you would say, but
any increase, any positive increase is always good, and it's a lot more than positive. Like I said, with that one oboe section, I know what it feels like when it's in the room with me, so I know what I was kind of looking for, and I got that like I said, that resonance you feel when someone's playing an instrument like that. It sounded, I didn't as much feel it, but it sounded more, so it gave me that impression of what I was kind of filled in, what I was missing from having her in front of me playing, which I guess is more richness or fullness. I don't know the proper terms to use for it, but
Not a problem. No.
but that's what I'm getting, is it felt more like she was sitting there playing versus her playing a recording of her playing. There's that presence of live instruments that is kind of an intangible, I guess you could say, and that's what I was listening for, was an improvement on that, and it is. It's like a richer, fuller, feels more like live music.
All right, well, that was the Forte III to Forte IV upgrade. Hopefully that helps you guys out if you're kind of on the fence, wondering if it's too complicated or anything like that. Hopefully that walkthrough kind of helps you guys out and lets you know it's not that bad. It's pretty easy to do, and the results are great.
Very.
So thank you guys so much for watching, and we will see you again soon for another episode of Top Shelf Audio. Thanks for watching.